You see, the bathroom, the bathtub, the faucet itself, everything was bone dry, including the towels. Not even slightly moist. That was the first thing I checked, sir. No, she had to have drowned before 6. Maybe even before 5. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been that dry. Long before Jessup got there. As a matter of fact, just about the time that you came home for supper. Commissioner, I believe you killed your wife. And I believe you either killed Janice Caldwell or you're covering up for it.
You just lost your badge, my friend.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Columbo Confab Podcast. This is Sean.
And this is Steve.
It is? Well, I'm Steve.
Okay, no, I'm Sean. I was just going along with your thing.
Oh, okay.
Steve, I'm really sorry. I just have to say this out front from the beginning. We may have to cut this short tonight, make this a short episode if possible, because I've got to go. I've got to go get tickets for the roller derby. The
roller derby.
Yeah, but in the meantime, maybe in 5 minutes or less, we can talk about A Friend Indeed, which of course is.
Oh yeah. Well, well, let's give you a heads up. I am afraid of Siamese cats.
Oh, okay. Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep that in mind. I do not have any Siamese cats.
Good.
Okay. Good.
Let's continue.
All right. Great. All right. All right. We've got that established.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be one of those episodes.
So remember a long time ago when we watched Suitable for Framing, and I said, well, the record for the quickest murder ever committed on Columbo is that where he walks into the room and shoots his uncle dead. Turns out
this is it.
It
starts off with a dead person.
Yeah.
We get to see her alive.
Yeah. She's just
poor Janice. Yeah. She's dead on arrival.
And she's been killed in a heated argument by her husband, Hugh Caldwell, who they live at a fabulous house in Bel Air. I don't know what he does for a living or what she does for a living, but boy, they live well. And
I got to say, though, that they do, if we can just kind of look ahead, they do blame all the murders on the Prince of Bel Air, Will Smith. I'm sorry, is that not the same as the Bel Air murderer?
I think that's a completely different thing. I think you're about 20 years too soon to blame it on the Prince of Bel Air.
I did warn the listeners it's going to be that episode.
Okay, yeah.
Or one of those episodes.
So, Hugh
So, go ahead.
Hugh Caldwell killed his wife because he suspected her.
Because reasons.
Yeah, she was screwing around on him. And also, I think he was jealous because she knew how to use conditioner and he didn't. Clearly, based on what I can see.
Okay, I don't know where that came from, but
his hair is like so frizzy. I'm like, get a haircut. Your frizzy hair.
It does look like a white male afro.
It's not huge, but it's like Martin Landau in Double Shock, where he's just got that you just cut your hair, make it look better. Anyway, continue. I'm so sorry.
Was this the same year they recorded this? The same year they developed Velcro?
I don't know. Why? That's a strange question. Why do you ask that?
Well, because his hair looks like Velcro.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I think this may be the year that backgammon was big, though, because there's a backgammon room. Anyway, we're getting 1 minute ahead of ourselves.
So Hugh, we find out, ends up killing his wife because he thinks she's fooling around on him. So basically, the typical O.J. Simpson story, as we find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask you this.
There's no Kato Kalin in this, fortunately. Fortunately.
I have to ask you this, Steve. So this did not open like a traditional Columbo. He calls up Richard Kiley's wife. What's Richard Kiley's name in this? Halperin, Mark Halperin.
Mark?
He's the police commissioner. And he's hanging out at their club. And so Hugh wants to get Halperin's help, so he goes at the club. And let me just ask you this, Steve. Did this strike you as extremely unconventional for a Columbo episode right off the bat?
Not really.
Really?
What made you say that?
Well, that we have an unplanned murder, before the camera starts rolling, and also we have an accomplice. We have our murderer go and confess to somebody else, and then of course, I mean, spoilers, but there's another murder that occurs later on. But have you ever seen the movie Strangers on a Train?
No.
Okay. Have you ever seen the movie?
So like the. Oh, go ahead.
Have you ever seen the movie Throw Mama from the Train?
Yes.
Okay, remember in Throw Mama from the Train where Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito meet, and Billy Crystal is going to kill his mom, and Danny DeVito will kill Billy Crystal's I don't know who. That's based on Strangers on a Train, and this is basically probably what inspired the story. You kill my wife, I'll kill your wife, or you help me, or whatever, vice versa.
Right.
But
unfortunately, Hugh is the Billy Crystal in this one. He doesn't think he's going to have to call in a favor, or that Mark is going to call in that favor later. But yeah, so he kills his wife. He ends up going to this bar, which I initially thought this bar that he goes to, where Mark is playing Baccarat or whatever he's playing, smoking his cigar and drinking whatever,
and with a hooker.
This is a place that, a hooker, probably, this is a place you would love to go to. If this was a bar that had places where you could play games like Clue or whatever,
yes,
over a cocktail of scotch, let's say,
yes,
smoking, and I think you would be there every night.
Soft piano music playing in the background, which is the same piano music they play in every restaurant or bar in Columbo. No, actually, there is another bar in this episode that rivals this one. We'll get to that soon. This is pretty swanky place. I think they should kind of mix up their games, though. Backgammon must have been really good. Maybe there should have been a poker table. Maybe we couldn't see the poker table. But
there's probably Othello, Chinese checkers.
Yeah. Candyland.
I haven't played Candyland in a long time.
Yeah, that's a joke. They would never play. Candyland is a stupid game. It is. It's just draw a card and move that number of spaces.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember playing that game. Would they have Uno? I like Uno.
Uno's a stupid game, but it's playable. It's kind of a fun drunk game. Anyway, where am I getting at here? Oh, okay. So,
how about Cards Against Humanity? That would be.
That's a good drunk game. And Joking Hazard is a new one that's kind of like Cards Against Humanity. Anyway,
we're not playing BDSM stuff.
No, it's Joking Hazard. Joking, like haha, joke. Oh God. Mm-hmm. You always got to go to the sex angle, don't you, Steve? You always got to go to the sex angle.
Okay, whatever.
Well, you what? You were going to say something. Anyway.
Okay, so anyways, Hugh goes to Mark. Tells him why he talks to Mark, the commissioner chief of police, whatever his title is. Why he goes to him, we don't understand. But they're apparently neighbors across the street. But he does go to Mark and say, "Look, this is what happened. I need your help." And so Mark seems to be the commissioner. Seems to be this guy that likes to play mind games, not like games to trick you, but just more. He's more intellectual, and he likes to plan things out and considers it a challenge. And I think he enjoys that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. But anyway, so what he tells Hugh, stay at the bar at 10:30. Give me a call at your house, or call your house at 10:30. And then we'll place you as an alibi, that people will know you're there at the bar instead of at the house. And so Mark goes to the house. He strips Janice down, which I thought was a little odd.
Yeah, I guess he was trying. The purpose was to dress her up in a nightgown, but I can't help but feel that maybe that's just a little bit creepy. He puts the nightgown on a chair in the bedroom, throws her underwear in the hamper, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. I thought that was going to be a clue later on. Columbo looking through the hamper. And then he takes another nightgown No, it's not her nightgown that he places on the chair. It's her dress. And then he takes a nightgown out of the closet, and he's going to dress her up in that. But although, of course, they don't show that. So it's going to look like there was a robber, and the robber killed her. Oh, and he takes all the jewelry out of her jewelry box. And she's got a lot of jewelry.
Yeah.
And then he goes home and talks to his wife, who is sitting in bed reading, and they have a nice little conversation about how she's rich and she's a bleeding heart liberal, and he's obviously a hard-headed conservative. And, why do you have to give your money away to people who don't want to work for it?
Yeah. So she donates her time and money to ex-cons to help get them back, on the right path. So he doesn't necessarily agree with that, but you almost think it's a marriage of convenience.
Yes.
For Mark and Margaret. Is it Margaret? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret. Now, she's an older woman. I assume she's older than him. But obviously it's a sexless marriage.
Yes.
Because she doesn't like being seen nude in front of him.
Oh, yeah.
Right off the bat. Yeah, there's nothing going on there. Which makes me think that when he stripped Janice down... Never mind.
I knew it! You were going to go there.
Where? No.
Anyway.
No.
At 10 o'clock, at 10:30, he calls... I'm sorry, before he goes back to his house, he does what he says he was going to do. He calls Hugh Hugh calls him. Hugh calls him at Hugh's place.
Well, he calls the house.
Yeah.
He calls the house at 10:30.
And Mark's like, okay, I love you, good night, whatever, and then hang up. And then Hugh's like, okay, no problem, all right, sure. And
it's kind of like the Jack Cassidy episode where he has to make a scene in front of a bar to kind of place him at the scene.
Yeah.
In this case, it's not as obnoxious as Cassidy, but he does... Wow, did you hear that thunder?
Yeah. Wow. Huh.
That was thunder too.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
You can cut that out. So anyways, but yeah, so he has to make a scene at the bar so he can have an alibi. Like, oh yeah, though they don't really bring it up, but Hugh's at the bar, he's talking about his wife shopping all day and whatever.
He tells that to the bartender, like the bartender cares, because the bartender's like,
yeah, right. The bartender's like,
yes, sir. Yeah, okay. Another drunk one.
Just make sure to tip. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we also find out that Margaret is such a bleeding heart liberal. I'm saying that in jest, by the way.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think it's good to donate your money and time to charities. I absolutely think that's what... If you have money... Actually, I'm surprised more people with money don't do that. But... have you donated, by the way?
You know what I just started doing? Amazon has this thing called Smile, where you can choose thousands of charities, and they donate a portion of your purchase towards the charity.
Really?
I also listen to podcasts where they'll have a link to Amazon on their webpage, and you click on that, and then a portion of what you purchase goes to them.
Oh.
It's very, very small... No, we don't have that. No.
Well, we do this for free. We don't charge anybody or all out of our own pockets.
Yeah, we don't have Patreon episodes. Maybe we could have Patreon episodes, like do commentaries of the episodes.
Oh God! So we find out Margaret is going to be Woman of the Year.
Yeah.
That's quite impressive.
At tomorrow's banquet, Woman of the Year.
Even though she doesn't put out. I mean, that's great.
So Mark. Commissioner Halperin is like looking out the window. He's like, I just saw somebody run out of the Caldwell house. And he calls the police and he asks for Columbo. And
which is a clue.
That's a clue. That does turn out to be a clue. Did they show him asking for Columbo, by the way? It's mentioned later on, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think we see that on screen.
Okay.
Let me say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So... All right, so we have.
Apparently the commissioner makes a lot of money. By the way, he has his own limousine because Columbo, we find out, is having trouble with his car throughout the episode, and so the commissioner, he does insist Columbo's there because he has his limo pick him up. It is funny because Columbo drops a cigar onto the floorboard of the limousine, and he can't find it, and it's almost like Columbo's I don't know, the the comic relief, but it's nothing really serious at this point. And the people around him, like the limo driver, the other police officers, are all laughing.
Yeah, I know.
As he's on the floorboard looking for his cigar.
Well, I was laughing too, but it was nice to see them laughing because it's funny. Because that's the only time I've ever remember in a while somebody laughing behind Columbo's back at something that he's doing, So.
Yeah, but he does. Yeah, he thinks he's got it clean, but he does ask the driver to just make sure he hasn't.
Could you make sure? Double check. Yes, sir. So he does the investigation of the crime scene, and what I find interesting is, again, I talked about this last time with A Deadly State of Mind, a lot of him looking at the crime scene without explaining what he's seeing,
Right.
And you're wondering, well, how is that a clue? At one point, he opens up the dead woman's closet, and he's looking at her clothes, and he tells the guy, fingerprint the door handle. He looks underneath the pillow, and there's a dressing gown underneath the pillow.
Right.
So if he knew to do that, I guess it's common practice for ladies to fold up their dressing gowns and put them underneath the pillow.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
maybe in the 70s.
Yeah, and he looks at Janice's hand and sees the ring on her hand, the wedding ring. What else does he do? That kind of you start thinking of clues. I guess that's it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
and
Go ahead.
It's assumed that the killer is this burglar that's been hitting homes in Bel Air, and that obviously this is a burglary gone wrong, and he killed the girl. And so, what happens then? You tell us, Steve.
Well, and it kind of goes against. So we find out the next scene. We see Mark, the commissioner. I'm just going to call him Mark. I'm sorry. That's what I put down under my notes. But he has a press conference, and he's basically saying, there's been a string of robberies. The Prince of Bel Air has been robbing all of these houses in this neighborhood, and we're going to find him. This is obviously his doing. And so obviously, Mark and Hugh are going to frame or pin this on the cat burglar that's been robbing all the homes in that neighborhood. Which, funny enough, is the first murder. So, the Bel Air burglar has not ever killed anybody. He's only robbed homes.
Right.
So this would be the first murder, and so they're trying to. This is, I guess, Mark's idea is to frame this murder on this individual that they haven't found yet.
Right.
Which is perfect. It really is a great idea.
Right. Yes.
And of course, we find out that the Bel Air burglar is actually Artie.
Artie Jessup.
Yes. Now, have we seen Artie before?
Yes, we have. We have. Do you want to guess where?
Was he in the last? Oh shoot. He was on the Commodore's last. Can't think of it.
Last Salute to the Commodore.
Yes. Is he the nephew?
No, that's Fred Draper, who played Swanee.
Swanee.
He was in two that I know of that we've seen.
Okay.
One was Identity Crisis, where he played the bartender in the belly dancing bar. I remember when Leslie Nielsen goes in to get a drink.
I remember that bar. I just don't remember the bartender. Right.
Okay. He also played the private detective that Robert Culp hired to bug the phones in The Most Crucial Game. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And the guy that plays the bartender in this was also in Identity Crisis, I believe. I don't know his name. He played the hot dog vendor that Columbo fat shames in Identity Crisis. So we've got two guys. One played a bartender here, and then the other one played a bartender in the other one. So,
okay.
Oh, and John Finnegan is in this. John Finnegan.
He is. Yes. He's Lieutenant.
I didn't write it down. I forget what it is.
I did. Where did I put it? Oh darn!
Is it
Lieutenant Duffy?
Duffy. There you go. Duffy.
Yeah.
That's it. So I think Duffy is the head of robbery, maybe? Just like...
Yes, so he's in that department, yeah.
Yeah. So he's Columbo's counterpart in that.
Which we find out later he becomes the chief of police much later. So he rises to the ranks.
Yes.
I guess Columbo doesn't really...
And, or is it... No, he doesn't become mayor. He's chief of police. Then he goes and opens up a restaurant, and then he moves next door to a model. Yeah. So we're just silly.
Yeah, so...
We don't really need all that.
So Artie... we see him at the bar, at this like local dive bar, which I think it's funny. All these, it almost looks like a bunch of homeless guys.
Oh my god! It's like they got like these are old guys day drinking. If I was watching this with my parents when I was little, my parents would say that's what's going to happen to you if you don't do your homework.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, quite frankly, sometimes I want to do that. Just go out and day drink.
I find it's just those guys. They all kind of dress the same with their little hats, and they actually look like they dress like Columbo, but they're all just like enjoying their beer. They're just I can totally get behind that.
Yeah.
But we apparently. Artie is married to Carol Burnett, so...
But a much more annoying Carol Burnett.
Yes.
And she wears a mink stole to the bar.
Yes. There's a character that Carol Burnett does, or she did on her show that reminded me of that, so I don't remember the character, but... but maybe someone can write in and let us know.
She just wants to go... She wants her boyfriend, and of course he's her boyfriend, because what girl wouldn't want... Artie Jessup.
Oh, yeah.
She just wants him to take her shopping, and she wants him to get the tickets for the roller derby, which I had to look up what a roller derby was.
You didn't know what a roller derby was?
Well, I kind of thought it was. I got it confused with a demolition derby.
No, so roller derby, for the ladies and gentlemen that don't know, I'm sure most of you do, it's basically a combination of wrestling and roller skating on a racetrack.
I mean, it's just
that's pretty accurate. Description?
Yes, they do it here in Austin. I think they had a team. Is it mostly women now that do it? Like they'll have.
It's typically women. Yes.
Okay. Is it sort of like do they always wear like short shorts and
Yeah.
Okay, so it does.
And didn't Peter Falk do a movie called like The Blue Marble or something like that? Wasn't it based on?
I don't know. Possibly.
It was the first R-rated movie my father ever took me to.
Are you serious? Really?
Film. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Peter Falk was the coach of a women's group. Maybe it was wrestling. Maybe it was mud wrestlers, or maybe it was roller derby. I can't remember.
Wow.
But Peter Falk was the trainer or the coach of the team.
Let's see. Peter Falk.
It's like Blue Marble or something.
Coach of team. Let's see. Let's see. It's not coming up. All the Marbles.
All the Marbles.
All the Marbles from 1981.
So I would have been 8 years old when it came out.
My first R-rated movie. My first R-rated movie was The Breakfast Club.
Huh.
I think I have a better R-rated movie than you do. But okay.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay.
I also remember my dad taking me to see Excalibur with Liam Neeson.
Oh wow! I've never seen that movie. Anyway, okay. So Artie's hanging out at the bar. His old lady takes off, and some guy comes in a leather jacket and says, "I don't want to buy your goods no more." Basically, Artie's the burglar. Artie's the burglar. That's been
right. The guy in the leather jacket's the guy, the fencer or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a criminal. I don't know the terms.
Yeah, the fence. He's a fence. He fences the jewels from Artie, and he just basically tells him, "Look, I'm not taking your goods no more. You killed a woman last night." And Artie's like, that wasn't me." And then they have Artie has a very short temper, by the way. He's a very he has a very short fuse, this gentleman. And he, bangs him up against the wall. Johnny Romero, those were men. He does kind of a what I like to call a Burgess Meredith in Rocky type. What are you talking about? I'm not running no soup kitchen. How do you like that? That's my Burgess Meredith. I'm not running no soup kitchen. Anyway.
What was that? What was your impression again?
I'm not running no soup kitchen. Or I could do the penguin. Rah, 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 rah. That's or my favorite Burgess Meredith. All the time I need and all the time I want. That doesn't sound like him in that movie. So we meet Artie. We'll meet Artie again later on. The commissioner holds a press conference announcing that he and his wife saw the burglar as the alleged burglar as he ran out of the Caldwell home. And Columbo meets with Mrs. Halperin at her home. And
yes,
it's a very interesting conversation. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Why is that? Well, no. Yeah, so he startles Margaret as she's like, I guess, trimming her rose garden. I'm not really sure what she's doing. So she rips her sleeve on one of the roses, which will be a clue. I know you love clues.
I love clues. This got good clues. Yeah.
So she rips her sleeve on the rose bush, and Columbo then interviews her, saying, "Hey, your husband during the press conference said you both saw the burglar," and he finds out that actually she did not. She was laying in bed at the time, and this is important, only Mark was the one that saw the burglar.
That's a clue. Oh, she also says he looks familiar, and so he says, "Oh yeah, we met at the policeman's ball last year. I was kind of drunk. I apologize."
Yeah, I don't see Columbo as being drunk. That's the funny part.
Neither do I. I don't know what he would be like at all. That's interesting. I've seen Peter Falk drunk, but I've never seen Columbo drunk.
Yes. Hugh sent me, he was on a talk show with the guy from, what was the...
He was... Okay. You know who he was on it with? He was on with John Cassavetes from Etude in Black, and...
Yeah, Etude, yeah.
And Ben Gazzara, who directed this episode. Believe it or not. Totally coincidentally.
Funny. Interesting.
Yeah,
huh.
Ben Gazzara was... obviously, they were friends. Ben Gazzara was also an actor. He was in, a few movies. Anatomy of a Murder, I think. And he directed this, as well as one or two other episodes.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so...
Yes. So after he interviews Margaret, he goes next door. He's able to get his car to go in reverse.
Yeah.
As he pulls out... Oh, my God, I'm surprised he didn't get in a car accident. But he goes next door to talk to Hugh about him. I guess he suspects Hugh right away, right?
Well, Hugh is so freaking guilty. I mean, I don't know. Well, Hugh is obviously upset, but...
Well, and I think it's interesting because there's a conversation where Columbo's asking about... He's just trying to get the timeline down because he's confused on how things happened. And he starts asking about, she was wearing a red dress when you got home. And I think this is where, we always like to say in this podcast, when does Columbo think that this person's the killer? And I think this is the scene because Hugh starts to explain himself, or starts to explain the timeline without even Columbo even asking. And it's very... And Columbo kind of... You just see raise his eyebrows as he's listening. It's like, I didn't ask you about this, but go ahead and keep talking. He's basically incriminating himself.
But there's a problem with that, and I think that Columbo will go along with it. The problem is that Hugh openly tells Columbo that his wife kept her nightgown underneath her pillow. And he mentions later, Columbo mentions later to Halperin, if it was him that did... First of all, he has an alibi. Second of all, if it was him, he would have known to take his wife's nightgown from underneath the pillow instead of getting a new one from the closet. And there's more to that. There's more clues that he hasn't mentioned yet. So it's still kind of up in the air. And I think that Columbo, I agree, at this point knows that it's Hugh. But perhaps there's somebody else involved because who was he talking to on the phone?
Right, yeah. There's obviously an accomplice here, and he doesn't know who that would be.
Yeah.
Which I think he's already starting to figure out that it's the commissioner because the wife did not see anything. It's only one eyewitness.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's got to be the one eyewitness, and if it happens to be the commissioner, it's the commissioner. Yeah. And the plot thickens, of course, when that very same day, the day after Janice is killed, they're at her wake, and Halperin tells Hugh, by the way... Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, you're kind of jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Let's talk about... So Columbo gets back into his car, which is kind of a funny scene. Mm-hmm. Gets in his car, can't start it.
Oh my God,
he opens
yes.
the hood.
Okay. Yes.
He opens the hood of his car. He stares at the his engine, closes the hood, and starts it again. He didn't do anything to the engine. He just assumes it's going to start. But he does hail down a car, and I think that could not happen today. The guy just stops. Columbo opens the door. Now, if you were to stop some guy who we've already know that Columbo dresses like a hobo. If you were to open your passenger door and jump in, wait, would you keep your door unlocked? And would you just allow this guy into your car?
No,
that you didn't know?
I'd be like that old couple in the Back to the Future when he first travels back in time. Drive, Herman, drive, run!
What?
You remember Back to the Future when he?
Yeah, I do. I don't remember.
He's dressed up in the suit and he hails a car and they're like, "Oh, run, drive, don't pull over." But yeah, I would not pull over for that man, even in 1970, whatever.
70, yeah.
But the man who does pull over and give him a ride to the gas station is Larry David. We catch a glimpse of him, and I think it was Larry David, but I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure Larry David probably had a full head of hair back in the 70s.
Steve, don't ruin the fun. Don't ruin the fun. No, don't ruin the fun. It was Larry David.
Yeah, so we do find out that, Columbo goes back to the police station, because now he's got to follow up with Mark, like, okay, I've talked to your wife, which is funny, because the commissioner's plan is just to keep busy and tell Columbo, just schedule something with my secretary and I'll get back to you. So, kind of keeping Columbo at bay. So Columbo baits him by saying, "Oh, I spoke to your wife," and then that brings him back, and he says, "Well, what did she say?" And that's where we find out that that he supposedly, quote unquote, mistakenly said something about both seeing the criminal, but he also gives a description of the criminal.
Yes.
Holy cow! That's
wow.
Thunder.
Wow. I'm not going to edit that out. I'm just going to make... That was like... It was apropos with what you were saying. Was that the right way to say it? Apropos? Apropos?
I guess.
I'm going to put this shirt
But,
on.
so... so... That, now we find out that Mark's going to use this opportunity. He's basically setting up for his wife to be a victim. The next victim of the Prince of Bel-Air.
Now let me ask you this: at what point do you think that Halperin just decided that he is going to use Hugh to kill his wife? Because it's almost like he's got it all set up already. Almost as if he had it all written down in a book. When Hugh Caldwell kills his wife, I'm going to use him to,
Yeah, I don't know, because it is like a perfect opportunity. I mean, if he was going to do this, obviously he's not in love with his wife, and he's wanting to get rid of her so he can have access to the money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how far back he was planning this. That's interesting.
Was it like immediately that same night? Like, was he I don't know. Because if he wasn't interested in using Hugh, he probably would have just handed him over to the police, but I don't know. No, these are rich people. They help each other out. They all think they're above the law, so... Okay, I don't know, anyway.
I guess so. But yeah, so Mark goes home, and we see Margaret. She's in a nice, beautiful bath, by the way.
A beautiful bathtub, but an ugly bathroom. The bathroom was gold carpeting in the bathroom. Gold.
Yes.
Harvest gold carpeting.
So she's got bubbles up to her neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even Mark says something. She wears the bubbles very well, but she doesn't like Mark in there when she's naked.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we kind of get the idea that they ain't doing it. there's no sex. As a matter of fact, a lot of these rich couples in LA apparently don't really have sex with each other. I've noticed.
Yeah. Well,
but we don't live in LA, but
Yeah,
I would assume that.
Yeah. Down here in Texas, we're fucking all the time. Let me tell you. I mean, I could barely walk by now. It's 8:00 right now. Could barely walk.
Wow.
It's been a full day of just constant fuckery.
Okay, so back to Columbo. Not your sexual life. So
So he
strangles Margaret in the bathtub.
we that's 2 episodes in a row we watched with naked murder victims.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Leslie Ann Warren in the last one. But continue.
So yeah, he strangles her and then proceeds to get dressed and go to Janice's wake viewing. I'm not sure, funeral.
Yeah, the day after her death. It doesn't have to happen that quickly.
And that's when he tells you owe me one now, and this is what you're going to do for me.
Quid pro quo.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I think it's interesting. They try to have this conversation at the casket. They're both kneeling in front of the casket, and then as they're kind of getting to details about how Mark wants you to, do him a solid, then Eric Prince comes up and interrupts them. What?
He does. He says, "Gentlemen, we're closing up at 8:30, but we'll be back open in the morning if you wish to pay your respects."
And you know how Eric Prince is about time, so.
Yeah, that was a really bad Patrick McGowan impersonation. Are you there? That's no. Okay.
Hello. Oh, that's really
Are you
bad,
there? Are you still there?
Nobody can do Patrick McGowan except Patrick McGowan.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so beautiful.
I know.
If we could have somebody impersonate him and to have him on like as a commercial or
Yeah. If somebody could do that, could you please reach out? Maybe I should just Google Patrick McGowan impersonator, and there's probably one guy in Boca Raton that
probably
he'll leave you a voicemail message or something.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm totally gonna fucking do that. We could use it as now that we're 3/4 of the way through Columbo. Maybe it's too late, but maybe for our next podcast we can have Patrick McGowan sponsor.
Sense.
Yeah. Where was I with this?
So Mark he's gonna take lead of this murder, because now he's got to set up the murder of his wife. So he's told the public in his press conference that he's going to take charge. He's going to go on these helicopter rides, and he's going to find this killer personally. He's going to make it his personal mission.
Which, if you are a robber, the best night to hit a house is when there's a helicopter with a searchlight flying around. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, you can hear him coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
So Mark is, or the commissioner is in a helicopter. Now I'm thinking. I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted myself, but okay, he's in a helicopter. He's got this 5,000 light, spotlight thing. Mm-hmm. What do they call it? Not watts.
A searchlight. Wattage. Voltage.
No, it's 5,000. It's 5,000 candle.
Gigawatts.
Watt.
Foot candles.
Yeah.
Foot candles.
Yeah.
Oh, technical.
No.
Okay.
Anyway, so he's blaring this light down on people's homes. Could you imagine? You're at home. You're watching TV, whatever you do in your private. All of a sudden, there's this bright searchlight that just beams through your window.
This has happened to me.
Really?
Yeah. I was. This is years ago in our old house where we didn't live in as good a neighborhood as we do now, and we smoked at the time, and I was outside enjoying a cigarette, and a low-flying helicopter flew by with a searchlight like that and just lit up the whole front yard for a moment. And of course that freaks you out because you're like, oh my god, there's a killer on the loose, or let's get inside right away.
I had a friend tell me how he was living in an apartment complex and somebody in a helicopter with a searchlight just beamed it on him while he was outside smoking.
Really?
And it scared him to death. Literally all of a sudden there was this bright light that just beamed on him. out of nowhere, and I guess they were fooling with him or something. They just saw some guy smoking a cigarette and decided to have a little fun with him. So.
I forgot to mention, going back to the murder of Margaret's murder in the bathtub. Did you notice that she dies really quickly? Like, she must have just been like, he dunked her under, and she was like, water, and just inhaled the water. It took her like 2 seconds to die. Maybe he broke her neck. No, he didn't break her neck. She died of drowning. We know that.
She had to be drowning because, it would show up in the autopsy, I would assume.
So the plan is for him to fly around in this helicopter with the pilot, and Hugh would carry...
looking for people having sex in their bedrooms.
Exactly, because that's pretty much what you're going to get. Because it's ridiculous, and Columbo doesn't mention this, but I think it's ridiculous to think that the day after this robber kills someone, he's going to hit the same neighborhood again.
Right, yeah, he's going to stay away from that area.
Yeah, I'm going to go stay at the dive bar tonight, thank you very much, with all the hobos.
Well, yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah.
That's actually what the Prince of Bel-Air does, yeah.
So it just so happens he catches, this is what he told Hugh to do, carry Margaret's lifeless, clothed corpse out to the pool.
Mark gets to see Hugh's wife naked. He strips her down.
No.
Which is... What?
I'm sure...
No. Mark strips Janice down.
Okay, that's right.
But the other way around... the other way around is Hugh has to dress Margaret.
I think that Mark dressed her. Mark dressed her, and then he told Hugh, well, there's a pile of clothes in the hallway next to her body, and this is what I want you to do. The clothes was the black outfit that Hugh had to wear.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that I don't think there's any nakedness going on there at all. Because he would have had to dry the bathtub up really well and dry the body off, and then I don't know. I'm sure anyway.
So Hugh throws. Okay, so the searchlight is on the commissioner's home, and of course he sees something, which he doesn't, but just to cause attention. And so he puts the spotlight on the home, and they see Hugh dressed as a burglar drop Margaret's body into the pool. Mm-hmm. And so Hugh runs off. They land the helicopter. Mark jumps into the pool and gives her the weakest looking CPR I've ever seen in my life. But I'm curious, is that their first kiss? Because
it probably was in the last 20 years or so. Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that as I'm watching this, and this never occurred to me before, but how is it in any way plausible for a robber to carry an unconscious woman out to a pool, drop her in the pool so he can be conveniently seen? Why would a robber do that? This is a ridiculous cover story for his wife. And Hugh takes off, and literally 2 seconds after he's out the door, the cops come in. Nobody saw him take off. He didn't run into the cops as he was going. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I didn't cover that, no. And so it's unfortunate because, we find out earlier that Margaret, she donates her money to frivolous causes. One of them is to, help ex-cons get back on the right path.
I think I know.
So there's this, it's such a racist scene.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but it is hilariously racist if there is such a thing.
Yeah, it's almost like Blazing Saddles racist.
Yeah.
It's so there's this guy who's going to pick up Margaret to take her to this function.
Oh no, she didn't show up, so he went to her house. And
okay, I thought he was going to pick her
up.
Okay. So she can get her Woman of the Year award. And unfortunately, this guy, we don't have a name for him.
It's a black guy. It's a black guy. We should mention that.
Yeah. And he's the only black guy in the whole entire episode.
Yeah.
And the cops focus on him. And there's some good lines like...
I didn't write down what he said.
He says like, I just came to check on her or something like that. And he goes... And he sees all the cops, and this guy, he goes, but I would like to get out of here.
Yeah, I'm getting out of here.
One of the cops says, I bet you would.
Yeah, it's just so wrong all over the place. I mean, it's just... It's like oh god, that
poor guy. Oh,
that is unequivocally the most racist scene in all of Columbo. And
is it?
I think so. There might be other racist scenes, perhaps involving Asians. Maybe the Japanese gardener in Columbo, Murder of a Rock Star, with the gong and everything, might be a little racist. Dong. Don't they have a gong on the soundtrack? And they do the... Anyway.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
So Columbo... so after that, Columbo does some interviews, but he goes back to the commissioner's office and basically kind of just says, I don't think this is what you think it is. And he basically gives Mark all his clues, saying,
yeah,
I don't feel comfortable with this. The commissioner's wanting a report from Columbo because he's got Lieutenant Doyle's, or whatever his name is.
Duffy,
thank you. He's got his report, but he's still waiting on Columbo. He needs Columbo. I guess the report basically is signing off that this case is closed. He's waiting on that final report from Columbo, and Columbo refuses to give that to him because he's just... There's something not quite right. He kind of lays out.
As soon as Halperin's wife dies, Columbo knows he did it somehow. He's involved in this. It is too much of a coincidence. They don't explain this, but he's got to think, okay, these two guys are in on this together. It's just too much of a coincidence that the one's wife dies. It's got to be.
Yeah. Well, and we forgot to mention, so when Columbo first meets Margaret, she rips her sleeve on a rose thorn.
That's right.
So she's wearing that same outfit. She's wearing that same outfit in the pool, and he's like, "Well, why would you wear an outfit that she's ripped?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
you would wear something you would look, less presentable."
He doesn't explain that later on, but it's just something that he kind of mentions at the poolside, right? I think.
Yeah.
But
no, I think he mentions it in that scene with the commissioner.
Yeah.
But yeah, he also tells, there's no fingerprints. It doesn't make sense. There's no fingerprints on the closet. There's no fingerprints on the phone.
Oh, yeah, and on Janice's. Yes, that's right. No, this is great. This is a great clue. Okay.
It really is.
Mark Halperin dressed her up in her nightgown. He was wearing gloves. But the maid was there that morning, so everything was dusted, which is probably the best fucking maid in the world. If she dusts and waxes...
I don't believe a maid would do that thorough of a job, to be honest.
The bedroom doorknobs. She has dusted the doorknobs to the closet in the
they're
bedroom.
not paying her enough. Whatever they're paying her.
And so if she put on her own nightgown, why aren't her fingerprints on the doorknob of the closet?
Right. So it's not the fingerprints that you find out later. Initially, you think Columbo's like, oh, I don't see fingerprints of the burglar. Mm-hmm. It's not that. They're the fingerprints of the wife.
Right.
Like, why isn't her if she called Hugh at the bar at 10:30, her fingerprints should be on the phone. And then
Halperin says, well, maybe the killer wiped down the phone. He goes, but Mr. Caldwell's fingerprints were on the phone. So how could that be?
Yeah.
Because Caldwell uses the phone right after he kills his wife. It's all this stuff that doesn't make sense, and there's just some really good clues, and you know that Columbo knows it's him. He just has to somehow get this guy somehow.
He's trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's good.
Because that scene where he's in the commissioner's office, it almost feels like Columbo's trying to bait him. And not into a confession, but just trying to get more information that he can use against him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Columbo also goes to a jeweler. He goes to Leon Lamar's.
You stole my thing.
What?
I was going to say he goes to Leon Lamar's jewelry shop. Oh, well.
So it goes to Leon's jewelry shop. He looks a lot older in this episode for some reason.
That actor's name, I don't know why I remember this, but his name is Eric Christmas, which is a really nice name. Eric Christmas. Name. And the lady in that jewelry shop, remember the lady that he says, can I smoke in here? And she's like, yeah. She plays Spock's wife on Star Trek. I don't know if she became...
Oh, she's been in another episode of Columbo.
Yes!
What was she in?
Okay, so... Oh, God, what is her name? I did not write down her name, which was a mistake. But, well, she didn't play Spock's wife because Spock doesn't have a wife, I don't think.
He's in Pon Far or whatever.
Yeah, it's Time Amok or something like that. But that's what she's probably the most famous for, like at conventions and shit. But she played in the episode called Negative React. Double Exposure with Robert Culp. Mm-hmm. She played Tanya Baker, who was the woman that Robert Culp had sleep with the murder victim to blackmail. And she's listed in the credits, but she's never seen on screen. They cut her part. So I don't know if she was in another Columbo or not, though. She may have been. I don't know.
But yeah, so we find out that Hugh's wife Janice has been selling her jewelry and replacing it with glass.
Yes.
So she can finance her love affairs with the younger men.
Right. But what's important is that John Finnegan tells Columbo, the reason that the robber didn't take her ring is because it was glass.
Yeah.
So he's an experienced robber. He knows glass when he sees it. But then Columbo finds out that all of her jewelry was glass, or paste, as they say in Victorian times. And so if the robber didn't take her ring, why didn't he leave all her other fake jewelry? Right. So things ain't adding up. Not in Columbo's mind. So then he finds out who her boyfriend on the side there is, Mr. Shoop, whose name I can't remember his first name. Mr. Shoop says, we had a date the night she was killed. We were supposed to go out at 9:30. Right. He says something completely gross, too. He's like, we had a date at 9:30. She never showed up. I called and no one answered. And
so the time of death is now pushed back from the 10:30 to 11 that the coroner now believes, because they placed the murder at the time of the phone call.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so since he wasn't able to hook up with Janice, he Mr. Shoop, the car dealer, used car dealer, he hooks up with Shirley, and they get it on.
They went for some drinks and went back to his place. And by the way, folks, if your date stands you up, you don't go and sleep with somebody from work. That's a really bad idea. That is a really bad. Never sleep with anybody that you work with.
Yeah, and Shirley's just a slut. You really don't want to sleep with her.
Yeah. Can we say that in this podcast? Did we just slut shame somebody?
If your name is Shirley,
no.
Please email us.
Or if you're a slut, I'm sorry.
Or if your name is
Shirley,
not Shirley, and you're a slut, then please email us.
And if your name isn't Shirley, I'm sorry we called you Shirley. Don't
Shirley
call me
must be
Shirley. Yeah, Shirley.
Oh
my gosh, we just totally fucked that up so bad. So he goes back to Halper and he says, well, you see, if the boyfriend called at 9:30, why didn't she answer? And Halperin says exactly what I expected him to say. Well, maybe she didn't want to answer the phone. Maybe she didn't want to be bothered. And he said, well, yeah, but why does she answer the phone an hour later when her husband calls from the bar?
He does call the house.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure,
He calls the house. So none of this is making any sense. The time he knows, So
and we do get a very important clue after this scene. We find out that in Margaret's lungs there is not chlorine from the pool, which Columbo, asks the coroner, "Hey, check for chlorine," even though the coroner says that'll dissipate. It's not going to be anything, but he does check the body's lungs on Columbo's request and finds out there's no chlorine or anything like that, but there is soap.
Yep. I remember the first time I watched that, I had that figured out right away. I thought, you know what?
Really?
Yeah, I before he even asked the coroner to check her lungs, I said, they'll be able to find soap in her body. That was like the only Columbo clue ever that I saw before they even mentioned it.
Huh.
Actually, there's another one.
Interesting.
But, we haven't watched that episode yet, so...
Okay.
The doctor,
So,
the doctor who in this, the coroner, the tall guy with the curly hair, he's so freaking familiar, and I couldn't find him, but he must have been in more than one of these. I feel like I've seen him in another episode.
I kind of agree with you. I thought he looked similar as well, but I don't know if it was in a Columbo. It just looks familiar.
Yeah. So
maybe like Bonanza or I don't know, Gunsmoke or something.
Yeah. Gosh, every one of these people that was in this is in Gunsmoke, Murder, She Wrote. Murder, She Wrote,
Magnum P.I.
Yeah, and the ones from the 90s, they're all in CSI. So Columbo meets Artie Jessup, which is a great scene because he's got.
Yes, I love this scene.
Yeah, he goes to the dive bar, and when he talks to Artie, he can't talk to him the same way that he talks to your standard murderer. Your movie star, rich doctor, lawyer, whatever. He can't talk down to him necessarily, but he's got to talk to him on the same level. And he does this very well with Artie Jessup. Not to mention the fact that Columbo looks like the type of guy who'd be right at home in that bar.
Yes.
Did I ever tell you about the time I went to a bar like that in Midland? I don't know. I went to...
Midland, Texas?
Midland, yes. Midland. And this is an actual true story. I'm going to share this because for sometimes I just want to go to a dive bar and drink beer. I don't drink beer at home.
And look at mermaids. Yeah.
So yeah, and have my eyes pop out teeth pop out when it happens. Remember the reaction shot of that one guy. Anyway, I was in Midland for some business. And I didn't have to go to my business until the afternoon, so I could stay up late the night before, and I went on Yelp and I looked for a dive bar, and I took an Uber out there, and lo and behold,
really,
and did you know in Midland they allow smoking in the bars, or they did at least in this bar.
How recently was this?
This was maybe about a year ago, and I bought me a pack of cigarettes and just sat at the bar and ended up talking to these guys about politics all night long. And it was really interesting. And
oh, God. I've been around you when you're drunk and talking about politics.
We had a very good conversation. We had a great conversation. Obviously, it was Midland, so they were Trump voters, and I am not. But we had a very decent, conversation. I remember it was...
God. How did you not get your ass kicked?
I don't know either, but they were nice. It was two guys. They were Mexican, and I was like, well, how can you be Mexican? But yeah, I just enjoyed it. Now, these fellas in this bar, I don't know if I'd enjoy talking to them. They were kind of scary looking. They were maybe...
Are you kidding me? I would love to go to this dive bar. I think it would be very entertaining.
Okay, the next time...
If you would just have to buy them a beer, and you would be their best friend.
Yeah, you get an hour of entertainment just from that. So...
But yeah, he goes up to Artie, he goes, you like scotch? Give him some scotch.
Yeah, give him some scotch.
He's buying him a drink. Yeah,
and you did not. Did you?
That would buy you. I mean, you would be ecstatic if someone bought you some scotch.
I'm figuring that they don't sell the same type of scotch.
I mean, I want some Johnny Walker Black.
I'm sorry, we have Johnny Walker Brown. It's the stuff that didn't make it to the red bottle.
Yeah, they probably don't have Johnny Walker Black or Gold or Blue or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of place.
Did you recognize the bartender here, by the way?
No.
You gotta find this. Okay, the bartender was played by Mike Lally, the guy who's been in more Columbo episodes than any other actor besides Peter Falk. He was in last week's episode. He's in so many of them. He only has
I don't remember his face. He was not. If he was on screen, it was very briefly.
He's very unremarkable looking. He's just sort of looks like a typical old guy. So he's hard to miss, but he's easy to miss. But once you know who he is, it's like I was trying to spot Hitchcock in a Hitchcock movie. You know how he was always in. Yeah.
So Columbo talks to Artie, basically lays it out on the line, like, "Hey, I know you've been robbing all these houses in Bel Air." He goes, "But I know you didn't do the last two." Because Artie's really worried. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't sell my stuff. I wouldn't kill anybody, burglar, but I'm not a murderer." And so Columbo says, "Look, I know you did it. You did the burglaries, but I know you're also not the killer. It probably does some kind of plea bargaining, like, hey, I'll make sure you get off lightly, but you need to help me. And so he gives Artie some important information about Hugh and the commissioner, basically to set them up for blackmail.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is all off screen. Artie contacts Hugh and tells him to meet him at the bar, demands $5,000 or he's going to tell the police. Hugh...
Right. And as Mark says, he has no imagination.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Mrs. in the one we reviewed last time. Mrs. What was her name?
Mrs. Lysenko?
Lysenko, yes.
Yeah.
Mrs. Lysenko. She only asked for very little, and Cassidy, or his character, said something like, well, I would have paid you more. Are you kidding me? That's nothing. So, similar situation, $5,000. So, next time if I ever blackmail anybody, I need to make sure I triple whatever I'm thinking.
But $5,000 buys a lot of roller derby tickets, let me tell you. They could rent out the whole thing.
Back in 1970 movie? 1970 money? Yeah, I want to look that up.
What was the movie with James Caan where it was like roller derby, but it was like you get killed? Oh fuck! They remade it like in the early 2000s. It wasn't Murder Bowl. That's a totally different thing. Anyway, are you doing the conversion right now of how much $5,000 is?
Okay, so $5,000 in 1974 would equal $27,189.72.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So
that's not that much.
So
that's
that's roughly 5 times more. So that means the $25 wristwatch band would be $125.
Yes, let me type that in. Let's see. $25. $25 would be...
No, I just did the math. You just multiply it by 5.
It's $135.95.
And I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't pay $135 for a watch band. I wouldn't.
No, neither would I. Mm-mm.
And that means his car would be worth $400.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. So what was the car worth?
$80.
What did you get? I think 80. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing.
That's 400. Okay, so that'd be worth $435.04.
Which is what I traded my 1998 Nissan for in like 4 years ago when I bought my car.
You got $400.
I got $500 for it. $500.
I thought it was so funny when he said, "Hey, if you ever want to trade in your car, I'll give you $80."
And yeah.
It's like, I'll give you a nickel.
Yeah.
Because I know we're going back. We didn't really cover it, but when Columbo's at the used car dealership with Mr. Shoop, whatever his name is, so he's like, "Oh, what a classic!" And he's like trying to sell Columbo on selling him a new car. It's so funny, and Columbo's, I think, kind of impressed that he recognizes his car, even though it's giving him some trouble.
Yeah.
Because Columbo loves his car so much. It's so funny when someone notices it. It's French. Yeah. It's European. Yeah, it's French.
It's a French
car.
That?
It was French.
He did that last episode to Sergeant Kramer. Yeah, my car's a French car. Hello? Like, that's how he acts. Like, can't you tell? It's French.
like Kirby could really care.
John Finnegan kind of does. John Finnegan kind of does a Kirby in this one. He there's a point where they're in the Halperin's bedroom and bathroom after her murder, and Finnegan, you can tell, is kind of tired of Columbo just sort of like randomly looking at shit. So he lights up a cigarette and just sits down while Columbo looks outside, goes back to the bathroom. Blah, blah. Anyway, so we cut to police headquarters, and Columbo is in Lieutenant John Finnegan's office. I thought for a minute, is that his office? Or do we see Columbo's office? No, it's not. It's Duffy's office.
I don't think we ever see Columbo's office. Maybe one episode.
So. There might be one that I'm thinking of, but I don't think we ever actually see it. Wait, yes, there is. I can think of an episode. Yeah. There's an episode We've done it. Any old port in a storm.
It's the one where.
Any old. Wait.
No, that's not the one I was thinking of. I was thinking of the one where his nephew gets married.
Yes.
It's a 90s one.
Yes, that's a 90s one, but they showed him in police headquarters, but they don't show him in an office. In any old port in any old port in a storm, the victim's wife goes to the police headquarters. She can't find anybody in missing persons, but she finds Columbo in homicide. And they have a conversation in his office, but it's all dark and you don't see anything.
That's in any port? I don't remember.
Yeah,
that.
remember the
I know the scene you're talking about, but I don't think that's in any port.
The blonde lady, pretty blonde lady, she played the dead guy's fiance or wife or no, it was his fiance. And he's like, "Oh, he's Italian and we Italians, we got to stick together." You don't remember this? You do remember it, but you don't think it's in any old port of the storm.
I remember the episode. Yeah, it's like one of the best.
You know, the name of that episode is extremely hard to say.
I remember the scene, but I didn't think it was in that episode. That scene that you're talking about. Whatever. Okay, we're not talking about that.
The name of that episode is extremely hard to say when I've been drinking wine. Ironically. Oh, I did want to mention something fun that I did notice. I did notice something, because we're coming up to it. Across the street. Wait. Okay, so they're going to arrange. Okay, we got to get back to Artie, the blackmail thing, the fake blackmail. So Artie's blackmailing Hugh for $5,000, and when Hugh goes to deliver the money, Halperin arranges for the police to come in and arrest Artie Jessup for blackmail. Okay. When the cops rush in, there's a shot outside. Across the street, kitty corner from the bar, is a Hard Rock Cafe. And it does not look like a Hard Rock Cafe. It's just a normal corner restaurant with a white sign that says Hard Rock Cafe in red letters. So much so that I don't think it's part of a franchise. I think that it's just a restaurant that happens to be called Hard Rock Cafe.
Columbo this whole time, has been working in.
Lieutenant Duffy's office, yeah. And he's got all the files of all the suspects.
Duffy, thank you. So he's been working in his office. So he's got these files open. Who he thinks might be the burglar, and he's setting up. It's a total scene. He's making this so that when Mark or the commissioner comes in, he's going to see the address to the guy who he thinks Artie is. Because now Artie is threatening him because he's obviously knows something. He's blackmailing Hugh, so he's going to make sure he gets taken care of. So he's going to see what that address is for this guy, and he's going to plant the jewelry that he took initially at the beginning of the episode, and he placed in his bowling bag. Funny enough. He's gonna plant that in
because he probably started.
apartment.
Yeah, he probably started bowling back when he was like just a lieutenant, and now that he's a big fancy commissioner, he doesn't go bowling anymore. You know that, yeah.
No, he plays baccarat now. Yeah.
It's backgammon.
Backgammon. Okay. He goes to the apartment. He plants the jewelry, and that's going to be his undoing because we find out that is actually a setup. That it's actually. Oh, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I'll do it because the way you're gonna. So they go up after they arrest Jessup. They go to this apartment, and it's like the worst apartment ever. It's like it obviously is a studio apartment, not a studio apartment. Jesus Christ, I've had a couple drinks, folks. It's obviously a studio-made apartment where it's just like the typical grungy downtown apartment 101. Speaking of Rocky, like where he lived at in that movie, and everything's all gross and dusty, and if you turn on the tap, brown water would probably come out. And he puts it in like the most obvious place, and he just puts it in a drawer. And they go there afterwards, and they're searching the place, and that's when Columbo finally puts his cards on the table, and he says, "Sir, I think you killed your wife." And with brazen, just Halperin turns and looks at him right in the eye and says, "You just lost your badge, my friend." And so, but Columbo knows at this point. They all know something that Halperin does not know. He says, they find the jewelry, which is fake. That's never brought up to Halperin, by the way. They find the jewelry in the drawer, which takes them a while to find. They're looking under mattresses. They're looking at it. Nobody opens up a drawer to find the jewelry there right away. And, okay, well, we've got him. So then they bring Artie Jessup in, and Artie's like, "This isn't my apartment." And Columbo's like, "That's right, sir, it's not. This is my apartment." "Huh? What? No, it's mine. Look." And he opens up a drawer, and he's like, "This is a picture of my niece and nephew, my brother-in-law." And I tried really hard to look at those pictures, by the way. But turns out Columbo leased the apartment.
My brother-in-law, my nephew.
Yeah. Leased the apartment a couple days ago. And Artie Jessup never entered there. And Columbo set up the Artie Jessup's file to put that address in. And Halperin, being the only person who saw the file, planted the jewelry in the fake place. So therefore, he must have done it.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah. Interestingly, we don't have proof that Hugh killed his wife or that
So
Hugh
do
was
you
involved.
think, I'm just curious, because this...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think he probably confesses.
Oh,
at
yeah.
that
Yeah.
point.
He's.
I think the commissioner...
Did you think at any point that Halperin was going to murder Hugh?
I think he would have.
Probably, you're right. He was a really bad weak link. He was the Leslie Ann Warren of this episode.
So do you think Columbo, because that apartment was a dump.
Yeah.
Do you think...
oh, God, here we go.
What?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you think this was the same apartment community or the same building that Tyne Daly, when she was a prostitute, lived in? Because it looked like the same atmosphere. They were probably neighbors.
Yeah, I could be.
I don't even know what episode that's from. She was like a drunk old prostitute.
It's Undercover.
Was it Undercover?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because she's got one of the puzzle pieces.
It looked like the same. It looked like the same building. I mean, I don't know. But she had like a bottle of gin hidden. Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of gin.
Yeah.
So, before we move on, I just want to say one thing about the gotcha clue at the end. The reveal that this is Columbo's apartment. I say that in quotes. Do you remember the ending of a 90s episode that we talked about a long time ago called Columbo Goes to College?
Yes. Yes.
Do you remember how that ended?
Well. Okay, let's see. It was about those two jerk kids.
Mm-hmm.
How did they... I'm trying to remember what the gotcha clue was.
I'll tell you what it is. So they were trying to frame the security guard at the college.
Right.
So what they ended up doing was they planted the gun in his car. But it turned out that it wasn't his car. It was Columbo's wife's car. And he did the exact same thing where he pulled out photos. He goes, "Look, that's a picture of my dog. My this, my that." It is exactly the same gotcha clue in that one as in this. They stole it and put it in a 90s episode. And if I did my homework and my research like a professional podcaster, I would go and find out if Peter Fisher wrote that Columbo Goes to College. But fuck it, I didn't have the time to do that because I just watched this afternoon. So, yeah. All right, after we hear from our sponsor, do you want to rate this thing?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to go grab a drink while we do that.
After a word from our sponsors.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
To understand Asia, you have to understand its customs, its mystery, its people. You have to know what makes a good impression and what offends. For over 40 years, we've been learning about Asia. So in addition to our convenient schedules, we can give you something no other U.S. airline can. The knowledge that comes after 40 years of helping people do business in Asia.
All right. I went first this time. You go first this time. I'm sorry. I went first last time. You go first this time. How much? What number are we looking at? Is it going to be 80 or is it going to be 25?
I think you're going to get it. If you guess, I think you're going to get it this time.
Oh, I just said, is it going to be 80 or 25?
Neither.
Oh.
Okay, so we're going to rate this out of the apartment number that Columbo is living in. So apartment number 13. I thought for sure you would get this one. Okay.
No, I know. I've done that before. Where
so
I'm
1
guessing.
out of 13.
All right, you first.
This is it's a good episode, though I wouldn't place it in my top 10, but still a very solid episode. And I really thought the plot was really interesting. I like the idea of there being these two guys kind of in coercion. What's the word I'm looking for?
In cahoots?
Collusion? No.
Collusion?
They're working together.
There's no collusion.
Collusion, yes. Collusion. Kalura, yeah. But no, I like the idea that these two guys are working together, kind of like throw Mama from the train thing that you brought up earlier. I didn't think of that at this while watching it, but I thought it was I really enjoyed that. I kind of enjoy when there's multiple murders, though it almost felt like Columbo didn't concentrate on Hugh as much as he did on Mark, which I thought was really interesting. But let's see. I thought it was really well done. I like the gags with the car. How it was always something going on with the car. What else can I say? I just... It's weird. It was enjoyable, but I can't really say there's some outstanding moments. I do remember when watching this was the second time I've seen this, I remember the apartment scene. Mm-hmm. I like that gotcha scene. I thought that was really good. I can't really think of anything negative about it. So I'm not... I almost want to give it an average score. I think it's above average. So out of 13, I would give it a 10. I think 10 is a very solid number for this one.
Okay.
You didn't like that.
No. I don't like that. You took the same number I was going to give it. Actually, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 13. And for the record, even though the evidence is pretty solid against him, that gotcha clue, I don't know how he would get around that. But I think that Halperin's going to hire a very fancy lawyer that is going to do some shenanigans and loopholes to get him out in a technical.
Yeah. We always say. We always talk about that. Does he get off?
Yeah.
So you think he does?
I think that he gets off because I think that Columbo did something that would not be proper. Maybe he didn't get a warrant like he should have. I don't know that for sure, but it just, and Halperin could probably, he knows all the best, criminal defense attorneys probably. So, yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna have friends up in high places, and I gotta say, I do have to say that the actor who played Halperin, Richard Kiley, I think.
Yes.
He was great. He was really good, and his voice is very distinctive. I almost want to say he's probably done some animation as well. That voice.
Yes.
Is very unique.
Okay, so
I know he must have done.
So you've seen Jurassic Park, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when they're going to take they're taking the tour through the park at the beginning, and they're all in those cars. Over the voice, the radio, Richard Attenborough, Hammond, he says, "Oh, that's the voice of Richard Kiley, by the way. I spared no expense." Mm-hmm. So yeah, and if you look him up on IMDb, that's his first.
That's
credit.
him, huh?
Yeah. Which makes you kind of want to go back and watch that, doesn't it?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So he was in The Little Prince. That's interesting.
The Little Prince of Bel-Air?
Well, let's see. He was in the Rockford Files. That's interesting. The Cosby Mysteries.
Oh, wow.
Chocolate pudding,
That's going to be our next podcast, The Cosby Mysteries.
Yes. It's what we should do.
We can do all 13
crucify
episodes of the Cosby Mysteries. Okay,
He was actually in Gunsmoke. Okay.
Yeah, of course. So okay, can I rate it now? I do pick.
Oh, he was also. Well, no, he was also in that British sci-fi show Doctor Who. He played the Master.
No, he did not. Oh, you fooler! Because he's got the beard. He does look like the Master, doesn't he? Yes, he does. Okay. So here's the deal. I think no, it's not him. It's not. Could you let me talk? Can I talk? Can I say my piece here? Although Roger Delgado and Anthony Ainley would make great Columbo murderers, as would John Sims and Michelle Gomez. They'd make great Columbo murderers. Could you imagine Michelle Gomez as a Columbo murderer? Fuck, I want to see that.
Yes,
wow,
I could.
Okay, so I'm gonna rate this 10 as well out of 13, and I think I'm gonna say exactly what you said, but I'm gonna try to explain what it was, because everything here is really solid. Like, there's nothing wrong with this story, and I do have a theory about this. I think if they were going to make a Columbo movie, like it's going to be released in theaters, this is what it would be like. Mm-hmm. Like, it would be in more locations and stuff like that, maybe a little more violent. Mm-hmm. The thing that's jarring about this, despite the fact that it's got all solid clues, is that it not only does it not adhere to a usual formula where we've got one killer versus Columbo, it's a little tangled up, but we also have the added thing of Columbo in a dive bar, Columbo talking to the murder victim before she's killed, and that I think subconsciously throws us off a kilter a little bit. There's an episode that we did a long time ago, one of our very first episodes, The Conspirators, which is the final 1970s episode. And that episode has the same feeling where everything is very... the murder is not as like highfalutin as it's basically like it's a mob murder, you know. That's what we're missing here. We're missing the movie star quality, the person, and obviously a police commissioner is somebody who's in a high position, and he's obviously relatively full of himself. There is a lot of cat and mouse here, though, and I'm going to agree with you that there was something in this, and I will be able to sit down and maybe write an essay about what it is that does not fit right with the other Columbos. It's just like I've chewing on a piece of gum, and for some reason there's just a little piece of something like a particle of sand in there that the gum just does not feel right, and that's what it is. It's outside my Columbo comfort level.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the episode. There isn't. It's a very enjoyable, and it's got a great payoff.
It's a solid. It's a solid piece of storytelling. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you because.
Oh no! It's just it's got the gotcha scene where he gets the commissioner at the end is very satisfying. Yeah, but again, I wouldn't rate it as in my top 10. So but I can't tell you why I wouldn't rate it. Maybe because it's, and I hate to say it's not based on the actors. Usually we like the ones with Culp or I don't know, Shatner. I don't know. Usually those are the best ones, but
if you think about
that's it, is the star power not strong enough? Or
if you think about it, Columbo was traditionally, you've got your murderer, you've got Columbo, and all together in the whole hour and a half, hour and 10 minutes, whatever, there's like 3 sets, right? There's 3 locations because you've just got people talking in rooms. In this one, Columbo is actually like a real street detective. He's going here to talk to this person. It's like playing that game that you had me play. Yeah, it's like L.A. Noire. Like, he's really just... We really see him going and traveling all over, and sometimes doing the stuff that we don't normally see him do on screen. Like, normally we would have him tell Halperin, by the way, I went to a jeweler and found out that the jewelry is fake. But instead, we have a scene of him going to the jewelry shop, talking to the jeweler, having that conversation with him. I think it has a very noir feel, I think, is what I'm trying to say. And for that reason, it doesn't...
But that's
it's
not a
jarring
negative,
in
though.
that
I wouldn't count
It's not
that
a negative.
against...
It's not a negative. And when I say noir, I don't mean the look. I don't mean it does not look noir at all. But I mean just the story, the format.
The only thing I can think of that bothers me... The only thing that bothers me, I guess, about the story is that Hugh gets off. I mean, seemingly, I know he doesn't, but seemingly he gets off.
Yeah.
Like, that's not Columbo's prime target in this episode. He concentrates on one aspect, and there's two people he should be at. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But
that could be it.
There's something there's not quite right. Anyways, it's still enjoyable and a very enjoyable episode.
He doesn't get off though, but there's no closure regarding Hugh. Like once Halperin's arrested, we don't know what Hugh says. Like that's why one of the reasons why I think Halperin gets off is maybe Hugh doesn't confess right away. Although I do think that he would, but because I truly think that he felt bad about strangling his wife. So that's all we got, I guess. I take that back. He didn't put the fake jewelry in a drawer. He put it underneath the mattress. My mistake. I'm sorry, everybody. With that, is there anything else you want to add about A Friend Indeed?
No. That's it. Do we have any feedback this week?
We have jack shit, which is normal when we're on our 4th episode of the season, because there's been no new episodes out, so people aren't compelled to write us. So I guess we can get right into some wheel swinging, if you're comfortable with that.
Oh, right. That's a swing of the wheel of discomfort. Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, the wheel of... What the fuck? The wheel of discomfort? Is that like from The Princess Bride? What is that? The wheel of...
That does sound like... And Peter Falk was in that too. Hey.
What is that called, though? The wheel of... I don't know. Okay, so, all right. So, Steve,
no, it was the swamp. It was the swamp of, dissidents.
No. You're no.
Let's do it.
No, you're thinking of. Then there's the RODGS or some rodents of indescribable size. ROIS.
Unusual size.
Yeah. The ROUS. The swamp was in Labyrinth, I think. Wasn't there like a stinky swamp in that? I don't know. Maybe we just roll the fucking wheel. There's 14 left.
Yeah.
Let's see what we get. Okay. Steven, spin the wheel.
Spinning it.
All right. Steve, have you ever seen Green Acres?
Oh, is it? Yeah, I already know what this is. Yes, I have seen Green Acres, to answer your question.
So we are going...
yeah.
Eddie Albert, we are going to watch Dead Weight, starring Eddie Albert as a murderous, retired military man. All right, so with that, I think we're finished for tonight. So good night. Say good night, Steve.
Good night. Hasta la vista.
Thank you for listening to the Columbo Confab podcast. To email us with a comment or question, write to columboconfab@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @columboconfab, and look for us on Facebook. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us some happy reviews on iTunes.
I love clues.
And the Oscar goes to...
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 Hi, my name is Sean, and I am the co-host of the Best Picture podcast. Each season, my co-host Eric and I randomly select a year and talk about the Best Picture nominees of that year, with each episode dedicated to a different movie. Did the Best Picture really win? Were there any overlooked movies? Was anything nominated that probably shouldn't have been? Listen to us and find out. Look for us wherever you can get fine podcasts.